Hello, my name is Karen Marston. I'm going to read to you from my sample translation of 6 Years Waiting for You, 6 ans à t'attendre, by Delphine Giraud. I'm going to begin in the second half of the prologue. Rachel felt, rather than heard, due to the hustle and bustle around her, her stomach crying out for food. She wondered whether it would be better to turn back and try a different restaurant to the previous night. The only advantage of the dingy cafe she had chosen yesterday was that it was a stone's throw from the Repos Hotel, but the food was really not great. Her dithering was cut short by a large drop of rain landing on her cheek. She would need to hurry if she wanted to avoid being caught in a heavy downpour. There would not be time to seek out somewhere better to eat this evening. Never mind, it can wait till tomorrow. The crowds hurried even faster along the pavement. At that moment, what was it that urged Rachel to look upwards and turn her head to the left? When she was going over it again and again in the days that followed, she could not find an answer to that question. Female intuition, perhaps? In any case, moved by some force of nature, destiny, Rachel looked in the direction of the beautiful 19th century stone buildings. Just at that moment, a door opened. Before she could even make out the person who was coming out of the building, she guessed who it was. She recognized him by instinct. It's him. Her heart stopped beating for a moment, then resumed at a frantic pace. The Parisians who until that point had been brushing past her were now jostling her as she had come to a sudden halt right in the middle of the pavement. Despite all this, she did not move, quite simply because she could not. Her feet refused to take a step. Her legs would no longer listen to her. Her brain was also paralyzed by the question that she wanted to shout out loud. Why is Vincent here when he is supposed to be dead? The blood drained from her face. There was a buzzing sound in her ears, and her legs turned to jelly. The world around her became a blur. He was the only person she could see clearly. His body swayed from side to side as he walked, shivering as he pulled up the collar of his coat, overtook her, and kept going without even noticing that he was being watched. She was incapable of making even the slightest movement. As if she was in a bad dream or had become mute, she opened her mouth, but no sound came out. She was in a state of shock. The questions began to form in her mind. It was impossible to believe that it could be true. Then came the certainty, that deep, powerful intuition whispering to her that she was not mistaken. That despite all the questions that this resurrection raised, it was indeed him, walking the streets of Paris. Then came hope. The colour returned to her cheeks. Air filled her lungs, filling her chest with expectation. Life returned to normal around her, but her senses were slightly altered. The touch of drops of icy rain on her face and hands, the sound of car horns and engines humming. Everything was new and clear to her. Her feet began to take steps forward. Then they were running, almost flying. Elbowing her way through the crowd, she raced towards her past, which had resurfaced out of nowhere, towards the impossible thing that had become possible. Thank you for listening.